underneath the collapse, the pile that we have here in the background in Kennedy Street. So when you're here, you can hear the chainsaws and the firefighters trying to find that worker who is under the collapsed rubble right now. So let's push in and show what else we see right here. We have about 12 firefighters who are on top of the wreckage right here. This is a residential building, and you see other homes next door that have been evacuated out of abundance of caution. You also have grocery stores, people going about their daily lives, but everything's stopping, Leslie, just after 3:30 when this building came down. We don't know if high winds or if there were any other structural deficiencies that could have played in what happened here, but at this moment it is the search to find the person, the construction worker, who is under this wreckage that we see right here. They've been working tirelessly for the better part of 25-30 minutes right now, and they're not going to, of course, they're indicating that the person is alive under there right now. They're working to get him out. We're waiting for more confirmation on that. The surrounding area is mostly residential and light commercial, but we're going to report more details on that. We have the public information officer, the spokesperson, Vito Maggiolo, who's going to give us more information in the next few minutes. But it appears as though it was a home, from what we understand at this point, Leslie. We think that everybody has been moved out so far who was hurt, minus, of course, the person who they are trying to find. I don't know the extent of their injuries. We quite literally, team just got on the scene 5 minutes before a camera turned on, so we'll bring that information to you when we have it. Right. I think it's just, if you guys still have me here, I think it's just so noteworthy as our photojournalist Eric Jansen is focusing on cutting through the wood that we have right here that's in the center of the camera. Just a meticulous effort to make sure that this construction worker gets out with as few injuries as possible. It's really a compelling effort that's underway right now. They are taking their time, but at the same instance acting with the utmost urgency to make sure that this situation doesn't get any worse. So we're kind of waiting for the moment right here when somebody is going to be pulled out from underneath the rubble of this building pile that we have right here. We can see one of the firefighters who's hoisting plywood out of the hole that they've cut into the construction. We have people with helmets on that are looking. One of them is just going in right now, but again, the mission is to try to get this person out in as good of shape as they possibly can right here. Also notable, you see, if we can push over to the left by the windows where you see the gray exterior with the red trim, there are plenty of people who are inside right now who are surveying and trying to ascertain the structural integrity of the left-hand side of this building right here, because of course they want to make sure that nothing else is going to come down. We've had the line of storms that pass through, but they just want to make sure that the other side of the building is structurally sound as well. I think that's we're not sure at the moment. We're going to get those details in the next few minutes. But to Leslie's point, I think that's so excellent to highlight right here. And of course, what you were saying, Leslie, is thrown into really stark relief with everything that we've seen in Surfside, Florida over the past week now to the day, with managing the pile and the dexterity and the delicate nature of navigating wreckage and debris, and it is such a complicated effort. Of course, I don't want to draw a direct parallel that this is nowhere in the same size and scope, but it goes to show how it is so fresh on all of our minds that the rescue work and the risks that people take when they are building or renovating structures go through every single day. And when this happens, of course, our gratitude is so immense and extends to all of the emergency workers undertaking this delicate operation right here. So we're still, again, looking at the hole that has been cut through with chainsaws through the plywood, for lack of a better way of putting it, that firefighters have sent 2 men below into the wreckage of that pile. And again, we're just waiting for somebody to be pulled out, and I'm going to just go and try to get a couple more segments of information about what was happening here before this collapse happened, just before 3:30, guys.
Some sound, guys. It sounded like thunder.
Dang.
Leads was a home that was under construction condominiums about the last year or so.
You should take a mic.
I'm trying to get this through right now.
Oh.
But, are you going on 24/7?
I don't know. I said that I needed to take a little break to get more information, but you got more information, so
I can do it then.
Yeah.
But I think you know more than I do.
I didn't know it was condos that have been under construction. Leslie was
According,
asking that.
according to a random guy.
And I gotta go. So, perfect.
There.
Okay, yes.
heard anything from them? Oh. Perfect. Perfect.
Pardon me? Somebody. Yeah, I know, but it's not the same shop. They don't have the higher. Wait, I can't hear what you're saying. But they are pressing us. They want us to get there. Okay. So that's why I'm saying. Yep. Hi, DJ. You want to try to talk to them? I've not talked to them before. So I want to try and see if I can figure that out. Yes, he does, because I can read his lips when he's speaking. Let me go down there and talk to him and see. All right, these yes, these are family. Okay, all right, got it.
More people injured here today. Again, more people were injured here.
One minute, folks, 1 minute. Am I good? Am I clear?
You're clear, but
No, I want to make sure. Yeah, just want to make sure I know.
Am I in a good spot, or do you need me to move back or forward? Got everybody you need? Are we ready? I still see people moving around.
We're good, Chief.
Okay. You good? Okay, so at 3:30 this afternoon, during the height of that storm that came through, DC Fire and EMS was called here to the 900 block of Kennedy Street for a building that had collapsed. The first arriving units found the same, assisted 4 people out of the rubble right away. Those 4 people have been transported to area hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. We are currently working to free 1 person from the rubble. We've got all 3 rescue squads in the city here. We expect this operation is going to go on for a little while, and we can give you an update on that when it's concluded.
Are you communicating with this person?
Yes, we are.
What were you able to say? What were you able to discuss? Is he okay? Is it a he? What
So it's a male that's trapped. As far as his conditions go, I don't know. We are talking to him, and I view that as a good thing.
Do you know what floor he was on and how many floors there are in this building?
My understanding is it was a 5-story building. We do not know what floor he was on.
Do you believe it was the storm that came through that brought it down?
It would be way too early for me to speculate on that. We're not even going to worry about cause while we're rescuing anybody, Mark.
What can you tell us about the surrounding area as far as utilities and evacuations?
So at Petco en route, we're making sure the power is removed to the scene for it to be safe. It will probably affect the things in this block, but it should be limited to that.
Can you describe how far down he is in this structure?
No, I can't right now.
Can you visibly see him?
The crews are reporting that they can see him and they are talking to him.
What's the process to remove him right now? How many days have you?
So there's all of our technical rescue services in the city are here right now. That's about 30 people plus the regular fire units. And what they're doing is using saws and manual labor to work their way through the rubble and lift it off and take it out to a safe distance away so they can continue to sort of delayer a building to get to it.
So I know you said it's too early for calls right now, but we are hearing from at least one neighbor that there have been complaints made about this building. Do you know if any?
So I wouldn't know anything about that. And again, while we're rescuing somebody, we're not going to go into any of that.
Deputy Mayor, you're here. Can you give us an update? Is DCRA on the scene? Can you tell us any
Sure,
history as
yeah.
far as permits and inspections?
So we have folks out here from DCRA. We're pulling information on the permitting, when the permitting, any kind of stop work orders, anything like that. But again, as the chief said, we're real early in this. We'll come back out. We'll talk to you as soon as we get all our information together to be able to brief that for you. But right now, we're worried about getting this one person out of the rubble.
Do you have any initial? Was it a permitted construction site? Have there been any stop work orders?
Again, we'll bring DCRA up to give that whole background on it as soon as we got all our information together for you. That'll be shortly here. But right now, really, we're focused on making sure we can get this one person out.
And you think it's just that one person? There's nobody else at risk or in danger or injured or dead?
Sure. So the foreman on the scene, according to the chief, has said he's accounted for all his people but one. But we're going to be very careful on that. We have a dog out here to make sure we check the whole area and that's correct.
I'm sorry, this is construction worker trapped?
Yes.
Can you tell us any more about the company who's working on this?
Not at this time.
This is real early, Stephanie. We're just in the beginning of all this, and really our efforts right now are focused on getting the person out.
Is the person who trapped English speaking, Spanish speaking? Do you know? Can you tell us any of that?
No, I don't know.
They're talking with them, so.
Any words to the city right now? It's another major collapse in so many weeks, so many days. We're dealing with seeing reports of what's happening in Florida. So what words do you have for people?
The thing I would say is to use caution in how we're comparing incidents to incidents. We had a truck that knocked down a bridge. In this case, we had a construction site that was going on that had nobody inside it except for the construction crew itself. So I'd be very careful on comparing incidents to instances. But we're going to get all the information. We're going to get back to you on it.
And nobody injured in any of the other buildings that were surrounded?
Not that we know of.
And this is an apartment building, sorry.
We don't know what the occupancy
Yeah.
was.
Do you know how long this building has been under construction?
No, but we'll get back to you with all that information. DCRA will be out here to do our next briefing with you all to let you all know where we are with all of that.
Can you say the extent of the damage of the buildings on each side?
Definitely the building on this side. Right, John?
So the building to the right actually isn't a building. It was part of the construction. There was an alley to the right of the building affected by the collapse. There's a home to the left. They've done an assessment on it. I don't have that information at this point.
Nobody was injured in any of the surrounding areas?
We took 4 workers. I'm not aware of any at this point. If there are more, when we brief again, we'll give you that information.
Sorry, and you're Mr. Geldert and you're Mr. Donnelly? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? All right, great. Thank you.
All
Can
right,
you just ask about the threat of rain and what that might do to your search efforts?
We won't stop because of the rain.
Okay, thank you guys.
well, that they are very confident that there's only one person trapped. They talked to the foreman for this site who says all of his staff, all of his crew are accounted for except for one, and they are in contact with that one person, both visually and audibly. They do see at least one firefighter on the roof who has a TV screen. Tells me that they are using video as well to try to find him and use him underneath, which is one of the tools at their disposal for these types of rescue teams here in the district and everywhere else. We do know that 4 people were transported with non-high-threat injuries. All construction workers, they are cleaning out power and safety of the search crew. And 2 buildings that were directly facing the building that collapsed have been evacuated also for safety precautions. The timing of this, they say right about 3:30, when the heaviest of that storm was coming through the sea, that's when this went down. Of course, they say it's too early to say whether or not that was the cause, but that certainly was the timing. Absolutely right, and a lot of people have been watching what's been going on in Florida, been hearing the task force, FEMA task force. One of them from Miami Dade was in that Surfside building collapsed. Well, one of the teams, one of the teams that respond to this type of incident is also based out of Washington, D.C. Some of these firefighters are on this search and rescue task force that are doing basic shots all over the world. So I didn't see any things that we know.
We have a visual of the bucket that's over.
What? I can't hear you. I was going to ask if we have a visual on the bucket that's over the scene, but I think the Mikey's down. You can't hear me. Oh, nothing. I mean, they just put a bucket truck over the hole, and they're bringing another bucket into the sea. Yeah, can you hear me? They just put a bucket over the sea. I got nothing. I was just trying to point it out.
Go low, guys. Excuse me, man. I'm going low. I'm going low. You good?
Can you guys hear me now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes. So I'm just pointing out that they put a ladder over the hole where they're trying to extract the construction worker, and they brought another bucket truck to the scene. That's it. Okay. Yeah, I'm here. Okay.
Where's your bag? Still over there? It is. Okay. All right. You go down there. Tell me how high I can go here, man. Take a look at your frame. I can move. You going down there or right there? Am I good? You're lower than the truck. You're good. Okay. You have a shot. I got a shot. All right. Here's your bag of tricks. Whatever's in there. Just the microphone. Once that truck moves, I'll go back. Okay. This way a little bit.
Which way? This way?
They can get their shot.
Over here, good.
The building just collapsed all of a sudden.
You didn't see it though.
No, I didn't see it. All of a sudden it started collapsing.
But you heard it?
Yes.
What did it sound like?
Like a big thunder, it was just a big boom, 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 just like a big bomb.
What did you do immediately after you heard it?
Oh, I couldn't do nothing, just look at it.
But you like ran out here?
Yeah, I ran out here just to see it. I was just shocked. Like it reminded me the one that happened in Florida. So I'm just shocked.
What was it like immediately after that? Were people scrambling inside the building, outside the building?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Really not sure.
Do you know what they were like building there? Was it a home?
Oh, they was building a house. I think they was building a condominium, a condos.
So that was a witness who saw the aftermath of all this. And, you know, the questions I have with this as we watch this play out as they try and rescue that one person who's trapped there, Les, is, you know, you had this 5-story building. It was under construction at the time. The winds were, at that time, Chester, roughly 50 miles an hour.
50,
So
60.
for this to collapse from that wind, to get that far along in the construction process, have these workers inside, 5 workers it sounds like, it seems like something else may have gone wrong here, not just the weather. But again, we're waiting to find out what exactly went wrong.
That's right. The city's Consumer and Regulatory Affairs agency is going to be giving us some sort of update the next time we see the deputy mayor to talk about what may have happened here. Reporters certainly asked about the permitting process, whether there were any issues on this site when you see the way it collapsed and how it collapsed and the extent of the damage. There will no doubt be questions about this process and whether they followed everything to the letter of the law, whether they were meeting all of the codes, whether everything was going the way it was supposed to. This is not ever something that you want to see.
Right.
And it is rare that we see buildings collapse.
There's a lot of construction. That's what I'm saying.
Area.
You have so many buildings under construction. So to have this one collapse from that wind, it is a bit concerning. And do we still have our Matthew Torres on the phone with us at all?
If you're looking at this map, if you're looking at this map to show you where it is, the building collapses on Kennedy and 9th. Illinois Avenue is where Matthew Torres was. He was sort of behind it, looking at the view of this from a camera that a neighbor had that interesting view from the back where you could really see.
Which looks much worse than what we were seeing earlier.
It looks much worse from the back.
Matthew, if you can hear us, if you can ask that homeowner for us, I'm hearing from people as well that, there have been complaints along this section of Kennedy Street about the construction that's been taking place. Can that homeowner give us any insight at all into what's been happening well before this collapse along that street? Have there been concerns about some of the work?
She's actually next to me, guys. Were there any complaints that you heard of about this construction? Can you give us just any more insight about that?
Just the usual construction issues. They're in the way. It's hard to get in and out of the alley for parking. I didn't see a lot of the construction happening because I was at work, so I couldn't say, as far as feeling safe, seeing safety issues or anything like that. But just standard construction complaints.
Yeah. Well, prior to this, were there any safety concerns whatsoever?
None that I had seen or discussed with anybody.
What about the building across? Since I know you said it seems like the same.
Nothing really.
Other than crowding alleyways.
Other than crowding alleyways, I'm not home a lot, so it didn't really have a lot of impact on me. But they were always polite to my au pairs, and they moved when we needed them to move to get in and out. So.
Do you actually know the guys that work there?
I didn't, but they talked a few times with Martina and Lana since the Italian and Portuguese speakers, so they had some conversations with them. But
yeah, and Lorenzo and Leslie, her house is pretty adjacent to this, anyways. I know there's it's not directly across, right on the same street. In fact, you can see what she was referring to, the alleyway. But that's her perspective, at least.
Okay, so the general construction headaches, it seems she's talking about there. All right, stand by for us, Matthew. And for those of you watching, just to bring you up to date, you can see the fire crews there just on top of this rubble. What was assuming it may have been a condominium building, some sort of apartment building, a tall home, 5 stories, just collapsed shortly before 3:30 this afternoon. They managed to rescue 4 construction workers who were inside of that one standing structure, and they are still trying to get to one person who's trapped. At last check, they have spoken with that person. They have made contact with that person. They made eye contact with that person as well. And they are essentially trying to pull back all of the layers here to try and get to that man.
It's a mammoth task. They're doing what they call delayering, where they go in and they literally layer by layer, pull off wood, pull off material, take it out of the way, saw it down, make sure it's safe as they are trying to get as closely as possible to the man that is trapped. They can't tell us where that man is, and they don't know where he was before he fell. But the good news is that they have been able to make contact, and I'm sure that has to be some level of comfort for him to know that there's an effort to get to him. He can hear them. He knows help is on the way. I cannot imagine what he is thinking. But it also reminds us of the risks of the work, the risks of construction work as we look around this city and we see homes under construction and buildings under construction around this entire city.
And you don't know what floor that person was on before. So if you were on the 5th floor and this building just collapsed.
Right.
My goodness.
That is really something.
Yeah.
You know, Zoe, why don't we update folks, because this is happening in Northwest DC, but these storms have impacted people around our area. There are 39,000 people right now who do not have power. This is combined reports from Pepco, BGE, Dominion, and apparently the worst area right now is in Bowie, where there are 16,000 people without power right now. So,
which is interesting because they had that tornado warning a little earlier, right, Chester?
Yeah, that's right. That tornado warning, which expired a while ago now at this point, did include the far eastern part of Prince George's County. And I suspect, I wouldn't be surprised if that warning was actually issued specifically for the wind and not so much an actual tornado. And sometimes the National Weather Service will do that because the winds could be so ferocious with these kinds of lines of storms that they could basically be tornado strength. And so to get the word out, hey, this is a serious situation, get inside, they may pop a tornado warning. No official wind measurements from that area, but closer to Annapolis, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts were recorded with this as they moved, these storms moved through that area.
Why don't we go to Scott Broom right now, because he is in Bowie and can show us what's happening. Hey there, we understand Bowie really took a hit in terms of power out there.
Power is out in a lot of spots, and where I am, US 301 northbound, right at Central Avenue. If you can look behind me, they just now reopened the road. Just beyond us here, you can see a bunch of trees came down and some of that wind we were just talking about very quickly. And with it, as you see the highway guys who just pulled out of here with their chainsaws getting this road.
Sorry, dude, talk about I'm at a building collapse in DC, so sorry, man. No problem. How are you?
Sigue atrapado, 4 en el hospital. Ok. La persona que va a hablar la construcción, correcto, ¿no?
Oh, okay. All right, thanks. I appreciate it. Could you just send me that name because it's really loud and I just want to make sure that I thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, bye.
One step to the right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you. Hey, Control, they're putting a gurney into the, or not a gurney, lost my vocabulary, but they're putting, watch the hole.
Valerio is on scene right now. And Mike, what are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Well, I'm just watching more activity around where they have sawed into the debris, and they put a gurney, an orange gurney in, and this may be the moment when they pull the worker out. So let's watch and let's listen.
I think this is the moment.
And see that orange right at the firefighter's feet? Let's zoom in a little bit.
We know there are roughly 30 fire and rescue.
Yeah, of course they're crowded around it.
It looks like they have been able to start to pull that worker out of the home.
Yeah, folks, this may be it, and I know that our
Looks like they're strapping
camera
that
is
person
zoomed
in
in
to make
so
sure they're
tightly,
secure.
but above these men and women are Tower 3 ladder, and they're observing the scene. Hold on for 1 second.
Yeah, you can see that person's head right there, right in the middle of your
There
screen.
it is. That's the person's head.
He's on the gurney. They've been working since 3:30 to get this man who was trapped in this home out painstakingly, inch by inch, sawing, moving wood, delicately, carefully for this moment.
Yeah, and thankfully that person is alive. We know that this man was communicating with these rescue crews for the duration of this rescue process.
And we can only hope that, similar to the 4 other workers who did not have life-threatening injuries, that will also be the case for this worker as well.
Yeah. Again, we're just watching this play out. I know a lot of people in that neighborhood, a lot of you who've been here with us for the last hour and a half now, have just been keeping your fingers crossed, waiting for this moment right here, and it's finally happening.
Saying a prayer probably
Yeah,
also
yeah.
that this man would be brought out alive and brought out okay. What a harrowing story he will have to tell at some point.
Yeah, we know that, again, with this, you can see them trying to get this man away from the rubble. Again, these rescue crews as well on this structure, it is not, they don't know how stable it is, so they're trying to get out of this situation.
Lorenzo
as possible
and Leslie,
as well.
if you can still hear me, it looks like they're bringing him down to where Matthew Torres is positioned on Illinois. They're going to bring the gurney from the middle part of this pile down the southern elevation.
I think your car's blocking the ambulance.
And it was a moment of quiet we certainly didn't expect with all of the activity, and there are certainly neighbors who are watching. It was so hard to see, but we could see the man's head on that orange gurney, and it looks as though they're bringing him down the southern slope of the pile of that 5 stories of construction that came crashing down just before 3:30.
This is the moment that they have been working for. This is the moment that they have been trying to get to all afternoon, the moment where they were able to pull this trapped worker out of the rubble of this home and pull him out alive.
Yeah, they're called DC's bravest for a reason.
Absolutely.
You know? You gotta appreciate the work that, as we've been watching them, you know, do this with care and, you know, relentlessly to make sure they got to this person quickly. They didn't know his condition. They had contact with him, but they didn't know how much time they had either, or the extent of that man's injuries.
It's rare that we see a building that has collapsed. It's also rare that we see them actually pulling someone out. And so you are watching the work that goes on every day in cities and towns around our country. It helps us to really encapsulate the work that they do, to appreciate even more the work that they do. There's a dog there. You can see there was a dog there helping to find the trapped workers. Job well done. Job well done.
And we know when they got to the scene, Les, they weren't just focused on this. They knew that one person was trapped, but they did use that dog, as you see the man being carried away there on that gurney by firefighters.
Right there in the middle of your screen. And as painstakingly precise as they were trying to get him out, they are just as precise and deliberate as they pull him down this structure. Again, we don't know the conditions that they're dealing with right now.
Yeah, this is just, looking at it, you can just see it is a big mess. You're talking about a 5-story building under construction at the time, and all of that just collapsed. And we don't know which floor this person was on, so the work to get to him, it was certainly painstaking.
Imagine showing up to work today. You've been working on this 5-story building, hammering away. You're relieved that it's not the heat of yesterday. And all of a sudden, this storm comes through and changes the trajectory of everything. And in one moment, you're on the home, and the next moment, you're under the home.
Well, some of those workers were able to get out. They were rescued pretty quickly as soon as these crews got there on scene. 4 of them, non-life-threatening injuries. Thankfully, nothing more severe in their case. We've been saying hopefully with this guy as well, nothing too severe. I'm hoping my eyes weren't deceiving me. I was trying to point this out a little earlier. I did see his eyes twitching just a bit. So he seems to be okay, but hopefully no other or life-threatening injuries.
This is what they train for. This is what they do, right? They save lives, and they are called, as you said, DC's bravest for a reason. And hopefully 5 families will have so much gratitude, even more tonight, knowing that their loved ones survived what looks like a horrible, horrible event here at this home at 9th and Kennedy Street.
Hey, I don't know if you can hear us, Matthew or Mike.
Okay.
What's the mood like in this neighborhood as people
do you
watch?
have any indication what the side's going to be?
Hey, Mike, we can hear you out there. Can you tell us anything about the energy and what's happening out there right now? Are you hearing anything? Can you tell whether the rescuers are relieved?
Well, I mean, you can see one of the dogs from DC FEMS is on the pile right now. Sorry, I was talking to producer extraordinaire Joe McHugh about our coverage coming up, how we're assessing the situation right here. You could see also that they took some medical supplies that were inside that they had lowered down out of the area that they had carved into the pile right now. So they, from what I've been told from firefighters who are supporting this team, who are just texting back and forth with me, they seem pretty confident of the integrity of the pile, as it were, since they're standing on it. There are 11 guys who have been on top of it for the better part of 45 minutes right now. So they're just assessing. You can see the bucket from Tower 3 ladder above the scene, just trying to get a better bird's eye picture of the extent of the collapse right now. I am interested to see where they took the worker who was trapped to an ambulance that I believe was on Illinois Avenue, but it's just, you know, the dedication and the work effort and the speed at which they perform this task is so striking, and they're just going on to the next phase of what they have to do right here, ascertaining why this happened. We still don't have that answer, and of course this happened as a line of storms was passing through. They need to figure out what exactly happened here, if all the permits were in order. So this is, you know, step 1 of getting to that place.
All right, Mike, you have been there for some time. These rescue workers have been there for some time. You can see that's the dog there.
That's a sight you want to see.
That is, I know, he's a happy dog. Mission accomplished. They were able to get 5 workers out of this building, including one that they just pulled out. He appeared to be alive. We can only hope that his injuries are not life-threatening. But certainly of the narratives that emerge on this day, there are likely 5 families that are very grateful to DC's bravest for the work that they were trained to do and the work they did so well today.
And this took an hour and a half. So that right there alone indicates the complexity of the work that was ahead for these crews there.
All right, if you're joining us now, we are moving into our 5 o'clock newscast. And right now at 5 o'clock, we are continuing to follow breaking news. This building right here under construction collapsed at 9th and Kennedy Street Northwest.
Yeah, you saw it live right here. One man was just
acaba de ser rescatada. Creemos que esa persona fue llevada a la parte posterior de este edificio en construcción, fue colocado en una ambulancia y ahora debe estar camino a un hospital. Pero los bomberos siguen aquí en la escena. Podemos ver también cómo los bomberos están bajando en este momento de este edificio en construcción aquí.
Well, Lorenzo, everybody is okay. This is certainly the best possible scenario that we could hope for given the collapse that happened here on Kennedy Street just after 3:20 this afternoon. So let's push in, show you the pile as we've been showing you for the better part of an hour right now. So as I was mentioning a couple minutes ago, we do have a bucket, a ladder that's trying to just survey the remaining work that they have to do right now, and this is going to verge into photographing, collecting measurements of any possible information that they need to assess how exactly this happened, and then perhaps, I'm being told maybe in the middle part of tomorrow, begin to clear the wreckage, the detritus that we have in front of us right here. You know, my colleague John Henry a couple minutes ago spoke to somebody who actually saw this all unfold. Take a listen to what he was told.
Completamente imposible transitar en este momento en la calle Kennedy, está cerrada. Aquí podemos ver bomberos, podemos ver también aquí a PEPCO, podemos ver también a la policía, así que si usted vive en esta zona es completamente imposible transitar por aquí, por la calle Kennedy, muy cerca de la avenida Georgia. Esta es una zona que generalmente está muy ocupada a estas horas del día, especialmente la avenida Georgia, no está haciendo tanto la Kennedy, pero en este momento es imposible llegar a este lugar porque aquí están los rescatistas, están los bomberos, está la policía, así que esta calle está completamente cerrada. En este momento pues también podemos ver nuevamente algunos bomberos que están encima de esta estructura que colapsó. No sabemos si quizás ellos son parte de esta investigación que se está llevando a cabo aquí en Washington.
You know, so to his point, I think it's so important to point out, Florida being in all of our minds, but a couple, you know, crucial differences. That condo building obviously had hundreds of units. This is a structure that was under construction right now. 4 people were rescued from the structure, from the pile, and we had one person who just over an hour was trapped within the rubble right now. A couple minutes ago they were able to pull him out, but his condition is unknown. Firefighters did mention though, Leslie, that they were speaking to this individual. They knew where he was, and we just saw unfold a meticulous effort to try and successfully bring him out of there. You know, as soon as we came up on the scene, our hearts clearly sank, and we were wondering if any families were trapped inside. This is largely a residential neighborhood, and we were talking to people all up and down Kennedy Street asking if they knew who was inside. It all was construction workers. They all have been rescued at this point. So now, of course, the mission for these first responders and for structural engineers turns to why this all happened.
Poco consternados, preocupados, si se quiere, tristes al ver lo que estaba sucediendo aquí, quizás con uno de sus colegas. Una vez más, esta estructura tenía 5 pisos, es la información que tenemos hasta este momento. Y Alma, esto es algo bastante normal aquí en esta zona en el noroeste de Washington DC. De hecho, acá enfrente de mí tengo otro edificio que está en construcción, al lado también otro edificio en construcción. Esta es una zona donde se están viendo más y más este tipo de proyectos, donde quizás antes habían casas que quizás fueron construidas en 1940, 1950. Ahora esas casas están siendo reemplazadas por edificios nuevos. Esta parte que también las casas que al lado de esta estructura que colapsó están evacuadas, los residentes no pueden estar allí, ya que las autoridades de esas residencias. Aquí podemos ver cómo el techo de una de esas residencias ya no está allí, parcialmente. Eso que vemos aquí, ese techo que ya no está allí. Así que esa casa que estaba al lado de este edificio, both sides needed to have stop construction and we feel as though that DCRA dropped it. And
I just texted the council member's chief of staff. You have any idea what that person's saying? Yeah.
what they were going to do in terms of before the start construction, we were not given those plans.
Well, the permits, we asked for what were the permits that were approved, and they would never issue us that.
Mike, can you help me with?
Yes, 914 Kennedy.
Can you describe the damage right now?
The property next door collapsed, and it was a multi-level building that collapsed.
Yeah, we're back. In fact, Lorenzo, she described it sounding like a huge, loud thunder, and we are here on Illinois Avenue. The neighbor, kind enough to have us here in the backyard. We're just on the other side of this wreckage, truly. We had a really good vantage point as the crews here were able to pull this man out in the basket just down here with the help of that dog. At some point, though, we did hear him almost groaning out loud, some crying noises, just to give you an idea that he was clearly hurt in all of this, but at least he was able to produce that sound to give you an idea that hopefully he is going to be okay. No doubt, though, we still have plenty of people out here. Firefighters, they really just took over all of this area right here, and it's been interesting to hear from the neighbor, at least who let us hear. It was windy, it was rainy at the time, but the idea that this toppled down like this, it really puts in a lot of question for all the neighbors. It seems like they are dispersing now, the firefighters that are out here, since again, they were able to rescue that trapped, presumably worker out here. But we have another angle, we'll talk to some more neighbors, and we'll have another update at 6. Back to you.
And it was very, we'd never been in this process before, and it was very confusing to us. So we had to hire a lawyer to protect our rights, and we had to hire a structural engineer to...
Two of them.
We ended up hiring two,
Just to make sure, was your concern that their construction site was damaging your property?
No, our initial concern was that their plans, when we looked at them with our, untrained eyes, it looked like they were encroaching on our property, because the property next door was very narrow, and it looked like, again, we're not professionals, although he has a contracting background, but it looked like they were on our property underground. So we hired a structural engineer, and I had a friend who's an architect look at it,
and they said it does look like they're encroaching on your property. So we had hired a structural engineer to issue an official report, and so we submitted that to the city, and so then it was this painful, drawn-out process. But the developer, quite frankly, is a bully, and he even bullied DCRA
to get the permits.
To get the permits.
Every step of the way, he was bullying them and to get permits. And I think that that's something that really has to be addressed.
And in fact, after you do business with DCRA, you get this customer satisfaction. So we gave the process a very poor rating, and so the manager, I guess, was not pleased with our poor rating, and reached out to us to sort of let us know he was not pleased with our poor rating. And in that communication, essentially told us that it was a complicated, case, and that the developer was very aggressive. So essentially, to us, that's essentially saying he was bullied by the developer. And so we believe that, DCRA issued permits that they should have issued. Why they did it, I'm not, 100% sure.
Well, I got